How's it going, everyone? It's Daikin here bringing you another Guilty Gear Strive video. And today I want to talk about the Millia changes for the newest patch for Guilty Gear Strive. So exactly what did she get and how can she benefit from the changes that happened to her? So just going down her list of changes here, her 6K has reduced recovery. So what this means is 6K has now been reverted back to being plus. However, it's more plus than what it was before. If you don't know, Millia 6K used to be plus at +1, but now apparently it is +2. This is allowing us to now follow up for 2K2D after a successful 6K hit. However, if you don't hit it, remember you are +2, so you can still take your turn after a block 6K. So no longer do you have to special cancel it in order to do something, but now you can actually just go ahead and follow it up with 2K2D, or if you want to, you could go for a full confirm if you want to with 2K6H. And from there, you can also do supers, and you can really spend a lot of meter here if you really want. You can double super if you really got it and you really want to push it. You can do a lot here. So a lot of more opportunity is there for 6K now. Standing heavy slash for Millia now bounces the opponent higher with decreased horizontal blowback. What this essentially means is that the change that they made to her close slash last patch no longer hinders her pressure or combo structures that she used to have. So when they made this close slash into a launch, you could no longer do 2S right away because that would launch them like that. And then you would do this and they would basically tumble across the floor, and then you would try to hair car and you would just keep going without actually hitting them. But because this actually gives a bounce on the ground now, this no longer is a hindrance, and you can now always get this combo to hit even if you do it right away. Because with the last patch, we would have to wait until they land back on the ground, similar to what half the Soul have to do. Because Soul does the same thing. Notice how the opponent goes like that. So what Soul has to do is you have to wait until the opponent comes back on the ground and then press the button in order to get it. Millia had to do something similar because of the change, but now they made it a lot easier, so you could basically just do your pressure, do your block string, or do the confirm how we normally used to do it before they made it into a launch. So we get the benefit of the close slash being the launch it is, but we aren't hindered from the block strings or combos that we could do before. Millia's forward heavy slash now has decreased attack startup. This is going to allow Millia to do close slash into 6S as a true block string option now. So before, this always had a natural gap, but now it can be made into a true block string, or you could delay to put the gap in there manually yourself now. So you can always put the gap in there manually if you want and actually get that counter hit to happen. And also, because of the faster startup, you can now do 5K into 6HS, and this will beat 5-frame buttons or slower. If it's a 4-frame, you'll trade, and it'll usually probably trade in their favor since you're in the air. But just keep in mind, if they have 5 frames and they're using those, you can now beat it with 5K or 2K 6HS, and this will allow you to counter hit those buttons now. Millia Suite has reduced recovery on it at -8, so no longer do you have to worry about 2K2D and then getting Rod the Light and Punish or getting DP'd when you aren't trying to cancel and just trying to make yourself safe from just the 2D option. When you're not trying to overcommit to something that you know is going to have a gap, you just try to do that, and you are getting punished with DPs, you're getting punished with Rod the Lightning. These things will no longer happen no more. However, keep in mind, it is -8 still, so if they press a button that is 8 frames or faster that can reach you at this range, you will still get punished by them. So choose your options accordingly based on the situation. Ground throws now have the same frame advantage and distance after a successful throw for all the characters. So what this essentially means now for Millia is that on heavy characters, she can now do 2K Mirage into close slash and not worry about getting thrown. Now, unfortunately, you still cannot go to the opposite side on the heavy characters. That's something she just can't do. We can still try to do the 2P version into Mirage with a cross up, but you are still susceptible to getting punished because not enough frame advantage on the 2P rather than the 2K when it comes to that. So just keep that in mind. Also, it seems like this change actually made the other setup a little bit easier. So the 5P setup, if you prefer to do this one where you do the 5P and you can not cross up, or you can actually do the cross up one like that. So this setup actually seemed like it was made easier with this change. I don't know why, maybe because of the distance that the heavies are now at. Yeah, it just seemed like it's much easier to do, and the extra frame advantage definitely helps out with it. Before we talk about Turbo Fall change, Tandem Top now has increased attack level for the S and HS versions. What this essentially means is that she is going to get more meter for doing these on hit or block. She's going to knock back the opponent with more frame advantage on actual hit, and on block is going to give her more block stun. So what this essentially means now for Millia is that she could put this more in true block strings and not have to worry about getting punished as much versus certain characters. So this versus Kai actually used to be a punish. She used to be able to get a 2S counter hit here, Now he could no longer. So definitely experiment with this and see which characters you could get away with doing true block strings for your safety on, to see if this can be something you can put in your game plan for certain matchups, so you don't have to worry about putting delays on your disc, so you don't have to eat a DP or super. You can just make yourself situationally safe in those situations. Also, because this also is affecting heavy slash, that means things that people were doing before to check Millia during her pressure, she can now take more advantage of the plus frames that she was getting off disc. So a situation of this would be something like this. People will block the disc when you go low and then mash a button. They can no longer do that anymore because of the frame advantage you're now getting on the disc. This is now a situation you can basically utilize a lot more. If they block, you can press your advantage and actually take advantage of those plus frames you're getting. So basically, now if they block and mix up from the disc, you still got frame advantage to actually go for at least some pressure situations. And for the last and one of the biggest changes to Millia is Turbo Fall, which now allows her to actually cross opponents up in the corner. Now, how they program this is now the TK version actually just crosses the opponent up like this too. Before, essentially, you would just like be in front of them like this. This would like normally happen, but now this just naturally crosses up way easier than before, even at close like this, doing it very low to the ground. So this is going to be something prominent in a lot of examples that we're going to talk about here in the application of the new Turbo Fall crossing up in the corner. So before this patch, when Millia knocked their opponent down in the corner, we really had to rely on the FD break in the air to basically open our opponents up to get a high-low mix-up. But now, of course, with the tandem top, one of the most obvious things we can do is simply just cross them up just like that. So now they have to worry about a left-right situation inside of the corner. And because this is a raw disc hit, you can just go for the full reset combo that we normally go into. Now, once opponents get accustomed to the Turbo Fall or are now listening to the sound cues and looking for this animation, you could get a little bit more creative in the actual mix-ups of what you're going for. So a creative example would be something like this. This, whilst it goes on the opposite side, the disc actually hits on the same side because you don't cross up as quick enough. So you actually stay on the same side if you go into the actual Turbo Fall into capo. This actually allows you to stay on the same side. This will hit in the front and then you will cross up. So they still have to choose between the left, right, even though they see you doing this. So they can't just look for this and automatically assume that you're going to cross up. You can now play a little mind game with that. Another thing you could do is if you automatically cross up, you can ID back and look at this. You actually go back into the front just like that. So they have to guess from turning around to turning back around really quickly to block the situation. You can also delay the button you press and stay on the opposite side. So if you delay the button you press from this, you actually stay on the same side. And all of this is actually a true block string for when you go into the air. So this part true block string, and then when you come down, this part is not a true block string when you go for the 2K. However, it does beat fast buttons like 4-framers. So like I said, you can be very creative in what you actually do here. You know, you can go for stuff like that. Really make your opponent guess on these type of situations and make this situation something way more devastating than it ever has been before, being in a corner against Millia. So you're a fan of Millia wall slump setups like me, then you will love the fact that she can do this now. So if you get a wall slump setup going like this, you can cross the opponent up from the Turbo Fall and actually do close slash 2D in order to get them off of the wall, so you don't have to break the wall. Because essentially before, what we would have to do is we would have to break the wall after the next situation. So it looks something like this. Just like that. So, you know, you used to have to break the wall, and it's not a bad situation. I mean, you get a lot of damage. It's a really good sequence. However, if you do not want to break the wall, maybe it's like, you know, you need one more sequence to actually win the game, and you don't want to go back to a neutral situation if you can't break the wall with a super or something like that, then maybe this is something that can help you out with that. Two more variants of the wall slump we just talked about. The first one being you can actually make this into a combo. So before, this would actually go through the wall, but now you can actually just cross up and actually get a combo off this. So you get a combo opportunity off of the wall slump itself. The second one being, if you don't want the combo, you can actually turn this into a reset opportunity. So if you want to reset off the wall, you just simply delay when you actually go into the disc. And then that will give you a full-on reset. And the last thing I think of for Turbo Fall that we know of at the moment is that you can now break the wall at your own term. So if you have 50 meter, you could essentially just RC and TK Turbo Fall and bring them back down to the other side. and run your mix up from there. So no longer do you have to break the wall. If you do a TK, you can actually just turn them back around and keep that situation going. So maybe you don't want the wall break. Sometimes there are definitely matchups and stuff like that where you will have to make a decision like this, and now just having that option there is very good for her. Anyway, that's pretty much all you need to know for Millia changes. Of course, people are going to be finding many different setups for Turbo Fall, so Turbo Fall is probably going to be the tool here that is going to have the most development. But for pretty much everything else, that is pretty much what you need to know about what's going on with the changes for Millia. As always, if you like anything I had to say, drop me a like, really appreciate it. And if you want more from me, follow me on my socials. Also, don't forget to subscribe and turn notifications so you know the next video goes live. As always, my name is Dyken, and I'll see you next time. Signing out.